Boards of Canada. Guys, if you want to get into Boards of Canada, I'm your guy. I'm your man. Now, I'm going to let you know this right now, guys. I got into Boards of Canada within the past couple of years. And ever since Inferno came out, I'm like, you know what? There is a way. There is a way for a fan, non-fan, whoever you are, to go into Boards of Canada and to go on these journeys. Now, if you are someone who hasn't heard of Boards of Canada, I'm going to let you know this right now. Pure instrumental beats, guys. Pure instrumental beats, nostalgic, some Evo vibes, some synths, 80s vibes, a little bit of guitars, samples, vocal samples, nostalgic, documentary samples, children's samples, Evo movie samples, just stuff like that. So, Boards of Canada, they're not necessarily a rock band where it's like no Cannibal Corpse. It's really just, like I said, like these beats. But guys, there is a way to go into it. Now, when I was getting into Radiohead, guys, I was watching videos on, all right, I hear about Radiohead, and I came across this video where I was like, what's the best album to go and check about Radiohead and blah, blah, blah. Now, thankfully for the video I was watching, it took me on the right journeys for Radiohead. Now, I'm going to try to help out these Boards of Canada fans or newcomers on what is the right way to listen to Boards of Canada. Now, if you are someone, guys, who hasn't heard of the Boards of Canada, the right way, well, it's your preference, guys. It's your preference, but starting off with, if you are a fan of boom bap, hip-hop, 90s kind of vibes where, like these hip-hop type of elements, hip-hop beats and stuff like that, and as weird as it sounds, guys, children's samples on this thing. Now, it's not like the kids are over here singing operatic. They're sampled in, but guys, they are edited so differently, so weird like that. It really just calls for like this nostalgia, and it works. There's no rapping. There's no singing. It's really just editing, guys. And I think with this type of music, it fucking works. It just paints this picture and vibe and eeriness and nostalgic, and it makes us think, and it makes us feel, and it makes us cry, and it makes us pumped up. That is Boards of Canada. Now, they do have a first album, guys, called Music Has a Right to Children, but they also have bonus work, guys. They really only have like 4 or 5 official albums out, but there's also old exclusive stuff that you can find online, YouTube, such as Old Tunes Volume 1 and 2. You can find Twism, you can find High Scores, Trans Canada Highway, which I also just did a review on that right there. There's some good shit on there. There's good shit all over Boards of Canada. But their main albums, guys, there's pretty much only 4 or 5. Small catalog, but very worthy. But like I said, they also have a lot of bonus shit that, can call for a whole nother catalog and, from to make a whole nother artist's career. You know what I mean? They got fucking plenty of bonus songs, but they're very in particular of the songs that they want to put on their albums. I noticed that a lot of their albums just really have like this cohesive vibe, like a movie. None of these songs just sound out of the norm. Everything flows together like butter, just really just flowing like, baby, just like water, sprinkling, just, you know what I mean? And it's really like a film, a movie. It's pretty awesome, guys. And a lot of their albums are longer, ranging within the hour range. You got one album, Gio Gotti, that's 1 hour and 6 minutes for 666. Their newest album, I believe, is over an hour, about 1 hour and 8 minutes. So a lot of these albums, guys, you're going to be going in and having these long journeys, which I call for. If that's your type of music, guys, ambient, type of electronica, IDM, intelligence dance music, all that shit, this is what Boards of Canada is like. This isn't really no old school freaking, NWA, none of that stuff. But there are just feels of just like hip hop elements where you feel like people can come in spitting. But it's mainly ambient vibes. It's mainly for like the vibe and the ambient production. And that is really the type of sound I like and I dig. And I've been going for it. Making myself, really producing myself, making these ambient EDM, electronica, hip hop, scary, even funny beats. You know what I mean? Just switching it all up. But Boards of Canada, Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails are the ones that really inspire me to do all this. But anyways, guys, how to get into Boards of Canada. If you're liking, the 90s nostalgic hip-hop elements, start off with the first album, guys. Music Has a Right to Children. You get some really good songs on there. Best song for me, guys, is Turquoise Hexagon Sun. That song right there. It really sounds like a nighttime song, But recently, when I've been playing it during the day, I've been really enjoying it. I think that song just really just paints this eeriness, like this nighttime lullaby. Just really calm, like beautiful song. And the bass of that song is really killer. Nice drums, great production. You get a little bit of vocal samples in there with children laughing in the background. It's really pushed back, but if you hear it, it's awesome. That's the thing with Boards of Canada, guys. They have these samples that are so like pushed. That it really just calls for like, you to turn it up or focus more to hear what's going on and listen, which that is ambient music right there, man. This isn't shit that you play and talk over and get. This is stuff you're supposed to play, sit back, listen, and enjoy. Let it soak in, let it coat you, let it just, you know what I mean? Just cleanse your soul, you know what I mean? That is Boards of Canada. So if you're into that, guys, Music Has a Right to Children. And even if you're not, guys, I would say a good start for Boards of Canada is Music Has a Right to Children. I think that their first album really is a great display of a great transitional development that they went on to go ahead and do with their further works. Music Has a Right to Children is probably the most simplistic. Now, Boards of Canada are very experimental. That is not a bash. But their further works are so experimental that it actually kind of makes Music Has a Right to Children a little bit more kid-like. But that is not a bash. I'm just saying that their new shit has just been so fucking hardcore and so experimental that it is really just, out of the norm in the best way possible. But Music Has a Right to Children, guys, I know a lot of Boards of Canada fans say that this is their best album. I'm going to be doing a ranking, guys, where I'm going to be expressing my likes. I'm not going to say what is my best album yet, but I will say that Music Has a Right to Children is a great fucking body of work. Solid body of work. Love that album right there. I think that is a great start to introduce somebody to be like, you ever heard of Boards Canada? No? What is that? Well, let me go ahead and show you. Throw on Turquoise Hexagon Sun. Throw in that song, Bates. Ding, bing, 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 ding, bing, 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 bing. Bates. Love that one right there. Throw in Aquarius. Throw in Happy Cycling. Olsen. All these songs, Pete Standing Alone, Turquoise Hexagon Sun. A lot of really just cool elements in these songs right here, guys, where I think that these boom bap beats and this bass and this production right here and these samples, yet alone them being kindergarten kid samples talking about orange. But I think that shit right there just works, guys. I'm telling you. It's funny, and to some people may be awkward. And I heard some people say that, hey, this part right here, the editing can kind of get a little overwhelming or annoying. Bullshit. I love it. I think it's pretty fucking badass. It is what it is. It can throw people off and make them awkward, I get, with Boards of Canada, but you really just have to sit back and enjoy and soak it in for what it is. You know what I mean? It throws people off, but for the fans that are into it, they are pleased, baby. This is that shit that just cleanses our soul, and Boards of Canada are one of those bands where if you dig, I feel like you'll be pleasantly surprised and pleased by how many songs that you will like. There are so many songs in Boards of Canada's catalog where I'm like, holy shit. Like, I wasn't expecting to like this many songs. The first one that got me into Boards of Canada, guys, was Gyroscope from Sinister, Mr. Boogie. You know what I mean? And not only that is that movie fucking terrifying and scary, but that is the territory and the environment and the feel and the symbolism and the cultish environment and the description and, just pretty much the whole production of that album is pretty much showing us and, pretty much describing the Satanism cult, especially. Not only is it Satanism, but it's mainly cultish vibes. I know that Boards of Canada really got inspired by cult elements and the religious elements and things like that. A lot of callbacks to God and the devil with two horns and God with two horns, and you could feel the sky, and just a bunch of crazy things going on in this album that is a lot more darker than their all around works. I think Gio Gotti is an album where that is an album right there, guys, where I think that if you were to dive into first Gio Gotti, it will throw you for a loop, and it will label Boards of Canada as strictly evil. Like, these guys right here are fucking crazy. Like, what kind of music is this? Blah, blah, blah. But I am very curious on the people that were born and around I was born in the 90s, but I was too young to know about Boards. But the people that were old enough to listen to this music in the 90s when it came out, and to hear Music Has a Right to Children, and then Gio Gotti, and be like, what the fuck? What happened to these guys? What's going on? Now, I know that 9/11 had happened shortly after Music Has a Right to Children had came out. But the elements, the darkness of Gio Gotti is fucking just unlike no other. You can play the album in reverse, guys. it hits just as well as the original intent that you're supposed to play on CD, vinyl, whatever it is. And I'm telling you guys, not only is Boards of Canada very dark and vicious and evil, it is that shit that I'm telling you that is really just great music, really just unlike no other. I think the sampling elements on Gio Gotti are the best I've heard, and if anyone has to compete or knows anything better than the sampling and production on Gio Gotti, let me know down below, guys, because I personally think the sampling and production use on Gio Gotti is some of the best shit that I've heard thus far. But we got to keep in mind, guys, Inferno had just came out, the new Boards of Canada album, and the editing on there is superb. So Boards of Canada are just, extraordinary all around. So Music Has a Right to Children, guys, we get this elementary type of, now not elementary in the term that the production's weak, but just for the sampling usage, elementary, talking about colors, a lot of samples from Sesame Street. Now don't let that fool you guys, this shit is badass, and the way that it fits in the beats is like no other, man. It's some shit that just thinking out of the box that just makes Boards of Canada for who they are. So I think if you want to go and start off straightforward of what Boards of Canada are like, and you want straightforward music from Boards, jump into Music Has a Right to Children. If you want to go ahead and get into like this dark, evil side, and you feel that life is tough, and you want to relate, and you need to get inspired, and you're into horror movies and just viciousness and brutality, I would just go ahead and jump into Gio Gotti. But if you guys are into like the nostalgic classic sound, the melodies, mainly the melodies and things of that nature, not so much sample heavy, but just more ambient, guys. If you want pure ambient stuff where you're like, you know what, I'm tripping on some shit, you know what I mean? I'm on some psychedelics. I would throw on Gio Gotti if you're tripping, you know what I mean? It's still, if you're tripping, if you want to have a dark trip, if you can handle it. But for the main part, guys, if you want those melodies and pure ambient, Campfire Head Phase. Campfire Head Phase, that album right there is superb. There's a lot of great shit on there. Such great songs on there. Just all around, I'm telling you. It's really even hard to, just go and point out singles myself. I think that whole album right there is just this really great, cohesive project on its own. Love the way it starts, love the way it ends. I'm telling you, that album right there, what I also love about Boards of Canada is that the way that they start and end their albums. I think Farewell Fire is a pretty trippy song where the song's like 7 minutes. And it starts off as like, 2 minutes of this eeriness, and then it just fades out. And then it's just 5 minutes of silence. And not only do they do that on Campfire Head Phase, but they also have a song of pure silence on Gio Gotti called Magic Window. So they're really, trippy, like, you know what I mean? You can literally, there's songs of Boards of Canada, you can send somebody and be like, yo, check out this song right here. And there's fucking no sound at all. Could cause for a good prank. But you know what? If you know the reasonings and where that song fits on the album, it all makes sense. You know what I mean? If you single it out and send it to someone, it'll throw them off. But in the album, it makes sense. The song was always supposed to go ahead and accumulate enough time to make it 666 and silence. So I'm sure there's also a meaning for the silence, not so much for like the time length to make it match 666. But Boards of Canada, there's always symbolisms in their songs. It's fucking insane. But there's also that, guys. So if you want those ambient landscape sounds of not so sample heavy, but just more on the beat ambient side where you can just get lost in this crazy production, definitely 90s sounding. I personally prefer the Campfire Head Phase's landscapes and ambient sounds like no other album by Boards of Canada. I think just the landscapes and the feels of this album right here are just fucking crazy right here. It just feels like you're tripping. A great daytime album. But I do believe that the Campfire Head Phase is an album that's hard to pull somebody in. I think that if you throw in the Campfire Head Phase, it's hard for them to be like, oh, okay, I need to check out all their works. But it is an album that I think is really great when you hear Music Has a Right to Children, Gio Gotti, and then you get into Campfire Head Phase and you're like, okay, this is a great continuation from what we've heard and this and that. So what I would even do, guys, if you want to get into Music Has a Right to Children, and then check out Campfire Head Phase, and then get into Gio Gotti to just hear like that evil shift right away. Because Gio Gotti is the most evil album, I'd say, of Boards of Canada. So if you're into the happiness, guys, I'd say Music Has a Right to Children is on the happiest. And then I'd say then it goes into Campfire Head Phase, and then we get into Tomorrow's Harvest. Now, guys, getting into Tomorrow's Harvest, that album right there, more on the classic synthesizer, John Carpenter-esque type of feel right there. Although vengeful and evil at times, Not too not satanic, and none of that really going on that album. I'd say it is more. That is a great album. Like that, like the artwork really matches. A great sunset album, an album that you play when it's not really nighttime. I think a lot of these songs on Tomorrow's Harvest really are bright. They have like this bright sound to them. So it's a really good daytime album, more so than Campfire Head Phase. I'd say Campfire Head Phase, you can pull off playing that at night. But I think that Tomorrow's Harvest is probably up there with the most brightest sounding album by Boards of Canada. Really hopeful, energetic, euphoric. You really get some hopeful, just soulful moments going on in there. But also, guys, I would say that's a pretty solid album right there to get people into Boards of Canada. It having like this modern yet nostalgic sound, because not a lot of people, guys, are into like this nostalgic sound. Although people love nostalgia, but it's hard to just throw someone like these beats and then have them get right away, such as the beats on Campfire Head Phase. Very experimental on there, pure ambient. But I think that when you get into songs on Tomorrow's Harvest, they're really straightforward. They sound really modern, yet classical at the same time. Using classic synths in a modern way, pulling it off. The album came out in 2013, so it really has like that more, modern sound and feel than their previous works. So that's a really good album also, guys, to start with right there. You get really good songs. The best song for me on Tomorrow's Harvest is Nothing Is Real. I think that song right there is fucking beautiful. There's also another song on there that the name kind of throws me off, but I always go to. It's like Jaquarius or something like that, where it is just like this fucking euphoric feel all around. Like, by far probably the most brightest Boards of Canada song I know of. Just really opens your eyes and just literally, you're forced just to see the light around you. And it's really trippy, like this really cool progressive. The song just blossoms in this beautiful way. Love that one. Just the name right there, I'm just, a little unfamiliar. Jaquarius, something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. Jaquarius Causeway or something like that. But the best one for me, guys, is that one and Nothing Is Real. There's still a lot of plenty good songs on Tomorrow's Harvest. So I think that is also another really good one right there, another good introduction. I think that so far, guys, the two best introductions for Boards of Canada are probably going to be Music Has the Right, The Children, and then also Tomorrow's Harvest. Although Tomorrow's Harvest isn't really labeled as the best Boards of Canada album by us fans and probably by new fans as well, I'm sure there's some hardcore fans out there that love that album, which is great. But that is one album right there that is really known to be more of like the third or, known to be not really in the top three for most people. And I'm one of them, really. I think there's some really good songs on there, but I think a lot of them are really more on the landscapish side, not so much these killer melodies and tones. It's more just about painting these vibes and a lot of synthesizers going on in there that sometimes they lead into, all the songs are great, but I would say that's like the least extraordinary works that, that they've done. But I think that's still a great introduction. Now, the reason is why, guys, with Campfire Head Phase is because that one right there is very experimental, such as Gio Gotti. I think that with those two right there, those really are for the hardcore fans right there. It took me a while to get into Campfire Head Phase. When I first heard that album, I was like, okay, I'm digging a lot of these songs, but nothing's matching up to Gio Gotti. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Time went by, listened to Campfire Head Phase a lot, let it play from top to bottom, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm telling you, like, there are so many moments on there where I'm like, this is awesome, this is awesome, this is awesome. The whole album just really just grew on me. And I think that's Campfire Head Phase to me, guys, is one of those albums where if you play songs out of order or just play songs in particularly, it probably won't come across as a whole great experience. But if you play the songs, guys, in order and just play the album completely, it will fucking throw you for a loop. But just although very experimental. So, guys, after Tomorrow's Harvest, we got Inferno, the most recent release by Boards of Canada, came out a couple months ago. And this album right here, guys, I gotta say that this shit right here is fucking up to par with their best work. This shit right here, I think, is also another great introduction. You show some fans this right here. You show strangers this, the unknown of Boards of Canada. They will be fucking pleasantly blown away by the stuff on this. Now, the stuff on Gio Gotti, that very experimental stuff, I think that stuff right there, although really holds up today, The stuff that they did on Inferno, guys, is so insane today and fast paced and so many samples and so much. It calls for so much attention span on this shit that I'm telling you, it's really fucking awesome, and it can pull anyone in, really. I think Inferno is probably the best introduction of Boards of Canada. I think that this album right here, guys, really just shows of what Boards of Canada are really about, and just the vocaling samples. Now, probably not like the best of what they do all around, but I think just the straightforwardness. I think the straightforwardness of what they do on this album right here, Inferno, where they're showing, everyone, just these fast-paced songs, these vocal samples. One of the songs was in back rooms. So yeah, you get a bunch of really cool fast-paced songs, really great ambient sounds, really great hip-hop elements. And I say that this album right here is really good to show somebody first because of the fast-paced nature. Now, this isn't my favorite Boards of Canada album, but the elements going on in this album, guys, are pretty fucking bitchin'. They can pull anyone in right here. And I think that if they hear this album right here and then go into their older works, and you guys check out Gio Gotti, and you guys check out Music Has a Right to Children, and you guys check out, Campfire Headphase, you'll be pleasantly surprised of where this band had come from. I think it's always cool to check out an artist and hear like their newer work, and then hear like their past work and see where they've come from and what they've done, and like, see the history. Just like the reversed way, you know what I mean? The Gio Gotti way. You can listen to their newer stuff and then just go completely backwards. Or you can start in the original way and just hear where they've, come from all these years. But for me, guys, I got into Boards of Canada. The first album I heard was, the first song I heard was Gyroscope. But I know I jumped into Music Has a Right to Children. And I listened to all that album. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? This album right here. I thought that these guys were going to be really scary. I thought all their songs are going to be scary. Music Has a Right to Children. There's a lot of happy shit going on in there, although really uncomfortable. And there's some eeriness going on in there. But, man, Gio Gotti right there, that album right there solidified me and just pulled me in. I'm like, I never heard anything like this. This editing, this reverse VHS sounding, really reminding me of Sinister. And I was hoping that Boards of Canada were going to have this Sinister sound. Like the movie, you know what I mean? Like this VHS snuff filmish, and they do. So that is why I'm such a big Boards of Canada fan, guys, because I love the movie Sinister. I love that VHS nostalgic, staticky kind of, it just sounds like you're just really like Boards of Canada. Feel like you discovered these like cassette tapes that you throw on, and it's like some undiscovered music. You know what I mean? Like you just found this gemstone that, nobody knows of and nobody found but you. You know what I mean? It just feels like this treasure that Boards of Canada have given us. You know what I mean? Their sound is so unique. Now, I've heard other bands and other music out there that do ambient sounds, but Boards are like no other. I think that the just continuation of their music is fucking just unmatched. These guys right here they are so consistent on what they do that they never fall apart. You're never going to catch them lacking on what they do. They know what they do. They execute it well. Nothing's fucking, falls flat. Nothing's terrible. It is some solid work. And although they have a short amount of albums, their bonus songs, guys, are still just as well. I wouldn't start with the bonus works, of course, because, bonus songs aren't official songs. But I think this new album, guys, Inferno, is a great introduction to show you guys and what Boards of Canada are like. And also, if you guys are really digging those elements, the hip-hop elements, for sure, check out Music Has a Right to Children. But if you really want to get experimental and see what Boards of Canada have, put together in their most experimental ways, I would say that Gio Gotti and Inferno are probably the most experimental sounding albums by Boards of Canada. Excuse me. And then you also get very landscapist soundings with Campfire Headphase. So if you want those pure ambient, landscapist, trippy soundings where you just want to go on a trip, or you want to hear what a trip sounds like, you can throw on Campfire Headphase. It's really on the pleasant side. That's some stuff that's really good to play when you're on the road or camping or outside. Boards of Canada are really good outside music, guys, as well. It makes you just want to enjoy nature, look up at the stars, look up at the sky, make you think, get shit done when you're outside. And it's not really like that music that's like party music or socializing music. It's that music that's really good for on the speakers even, you know what I mean? I know that Boards of Canada sound great on headphones as well, but I really do dig the way that they sound on the speakers, just giving like this surround sound, stereo sound where effects and all that stuff just really reflect. Listening to Boards of Canada, guys, on surround sound calls for a fucking great experience, especially when the samples kick in. That right there is pretty fucking bitchin'. But telling you guys, either way, if you jump into Boards of Canada, I hope that you'll be pleasantly surprised and go along with these journeys along with us, especially, you know, the type of journeys I've had with Boards of Canada. I can speak for myself and say that they took me on some fucking great journeys that I'm really just, you know, surprised I've went on, up to par with some trips that I've had. You know what I mean? Like, you know, these guys have taken me to space and beyond. They've taken me to the clouds, taken me to places, opened up my third eye, you know, just, Boards of Canada are pretty much like a ambient instrumental tool. That is right. Boards of Canada are like an ambient instrumental tool, and these two guys are just Maynards. Just Maynards. You got two Maynards in here just making pure beats, not saying anything, but they're giving these nostalgic, you know, just fucking just beautiful vibes right here, guys. Like it just feels like just history in the making right here. And Boards of Canada, guys, I feel like, you know, they have stuff for everybody. I think that they can have some stuff to pull in the younger fans, the youth fans, the older fans, past fans, new fans, all kind of age brackets. Hell, even dogs. I guarantee some dogs will hear all this. See, I have a dog, and I play Boards of Canada, and he always chilling with me. He's always chilling with me when Boards of Canada are on. He gets spooked a lot when Gio Gotti gets on, especially when Gyroscope, and you can feel the sky with those fart noises. Whatever that noise is, guys, on You Can Feel the Sky, that shit right there makes the fucking song. I don't care if that's a fart noise or a rope being pulled, but that shit right there just is different, and it fits this song. And if you guys listen to that song on reversed, it also sounds really interesting as well. If you know, that is also one thing I want to point out. The most interesting album by far by Boards of Canada is fuck. Why is that name? Not Gyroscope. It is Music Has the Right to Children. Gio Gotti. Gio Gotti. See, like these names, Gyroscope, Gio Gotti, just really fucking, you know, they're really just a tongue twister. If you want the most interesting album, guys, Gio Gotti. Gio Gotti, that album right there is so experimental and interesting. You can even play the album in reverse and find some highlights on there. There's a lot of reverse elements in the original format. So if you play the album in reverse, you're gonna hear what the sampling and the original format it was used. You'll hear it just perfectly, all like these things. There's a lot of reverse elements in Gio Gotti. So if you play the album in reverse or originally, guys, you're still going to have great listening experiences both ways. That is one very experimental album right there. Not only by Boards of Canada, but in general. I've yet to hear an album where you can play in reverse and have a great time with it still. That is some fucking great music right there. And I'm telling you guys, some of the songs that are actually reversed on Gio Gotti sound better than the original format. I'm telling you. Alpha and Omega, You Can Feel the Sky. What's another really good one that Julia and Candy sound pretty trippy, but I think the original version possibly could be better. But just so many really good moments on there, guys, where, oh, the devil is in the details, guys. The devil is in the details. You listen to that song right there reversed. Now, one thing I noticed, guys, when I was listening to that song is that if you listen to The Devil's in the Details from Gio Gotti in reverse or originally, it will fucking sound the same. There's this sound effect in that song right there. If you play in reverse or originally, it still sounds the same. It is trippy. The devil is literally in the details. You can play in reverse, it sounds the same. You can play like this, it sounds the same. The devil ain't going nowhere. He's in the songs. That reverse stuff doesn't affect him. That's his shit right there. You reverse my content, you know what I mean? It's still going to sound the same. You know what I mean? I meant what I said. The devil is in the details of that song. And then when the little kid is doing like these like, you know, little sound effects or whinings or cryings, man, they sound even more intense when it's reversed. And there's like weird watery jittery sounds right there that just make it hella uncomfortable. Man, that song right there is fucking trippy. And that is one song right there that I think also should have been in Sinister, Mr. Boogie. That is one spooky ass song right there where they were not lying when the devil's in the details. And that's another thing I want to point out about Boards of Canada, where these titles, they're not just titles that sound cool like Gio Gotti. Like, you know, Gio Gotti, I believe, is a meaning two gods, you know what I mean? And Boards of Canada are two Scottish brothers who are Boards of Canada. And I think right there is representing two gods. And if you look at the cover, guys, there are 6 people on there representing, I believe, you know, 666. And there's only 2 that you can see their heads in complete form, which is, you know, showing that there's only 2, you know, of the gods. And I believe that, like, you know, they have like horns or hooves on their head, where I was seeing that as well. So really satanic, really dark, really evil, but very experimental, great fucking body work from Gio Gotti. Music Has a Right to Children, more on the happy side, pleasant side, although very sample heavy. You're going to get a lot of hip hop elements on there that I think are really good to pull people in, just straightforward. A lot of the tracks are straightforward. You hear these, you're not going to be like, huh, never really heard that before. It's going to feel familiar. You listen to Music Has a Right to Children, it's going to feel familiar territory. You get into Campfire Head Fades, although familiar, but I think those are going to throw you off and be like, whoa, like, holy shit, like, this is different right here. So that's going to be throwing the listeners for loops. And then Tomorrow's Harvest, I think that's the stuff right there that is 80s synthesizers, although nothing new, but I think that Boards of Canada really execute the sound of Tomorrow's Harvest very well. But Inferno, there are all kinds of samples, very cool sounding samples on there. And I think that the main focus on Inferno is having these samples sound pretty badass as opposed to squeezing them in and what they're saying. It's pretty awesome use of chopping samples up and editing them and just fucking giving us this surround sound eargasm of sound effects going on in Inferno. So, guys, either way, I hope that you jump into Boards of Canada and have a good time. It is your preference on what you like. Me personally, I had great journeys going on Boards of Canada with these soundscapes, experimentations, even just explanations of their songs and what they're just describing and getting across. Makes you think and makes you even just dive deeper beyond the song. So you can have 60 minutes of listening to a song and spend another 60 minutes trying to figure out what that album even meant. So Boards of Canada, guys, or should I say you spend 66 minutes listening to the album and spend another 66 trying to figure out what the hell you just digest it. So guys, it is your preference. I hope I broke down these albums, for you guys to go ahead and, decipher which one you can enjoy, to each its own. But, I think all these albums are really just worth checking out at the end of the day. There are different ways you can go and jump into these things right here. Now, music is different. Music isn't necessarily like movies where you don't jump into movies and listen and watch Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and then jump into Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and then 3 or whatever. Although you probably can with some of these franchises because a lot of them lost their lore. But with albums, I think that you can jump into these and switch up, whatever order, and it doesn't have to be this sound where it's like, oh, okay, I'm jumping into album 1, album 2, album 3, album 4. So it's really for your liking, guys. Music that's a part of it is just like, it's really just going based off how you feel and what you want at the time. So guys, I hope I broke these albums just perfectly for your liking and which one you can decipher. But for me, guys, I'm going to let you know and stay tuned for my Boards of Canada ranking on what is my favorite albums in particular and their tier list ranking in order from my liking and experimentations. So guys, go ahead and stay tuned for that right there. And but I'm letting you know this right now. Boards of Canada up there with one of my favorite bands that they don't have any bad bodies of work. So that's going to be a fun ranking to do. So stay tuned for that, guys. But until then, guys, check out the albums that you want. And I'm telling you, if you are new to Boards of Canada, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And I know there's going to be something for you in there. But the Boards of Canada fans, guys, let me know what are your favorite albums, and stay tuned, guys, for my Boards of Canada ranking, because I'm going to be talking a lot about these albums and going into more depth about the songs and my likings and why I like them and etc. So, guys, thanks for sticking with me on this one. And until then, stay ready and let's go to Canada, baby. Let's go to Canada. Boards of Canada, baby. All these albums, just great bodies of work and just great music that you just cannot go wrong with. So Boards of Canada, guys, till next time, until the ranking comes out. Have a good one, guys. Deuces!